Hello. Okay, so what I'm about to go over is me and my new partner's Hellgates, first run of Hellgates. So I'm using a weird build here. I'm going Phantom Twin Blade with Whirling Strikes over Concussive. I like the AoE on the Whirling Strikes. Concussive does have a nice stun, but Whirling Strikes does more for me than the Concussive, which is interesting. And it looks like it does slightly more damage as well, or slightly less, but it's better for me. Going Gale Dance, I want the move speed auto attack damage and the extra damage that comes with this from the other compared to the other W's is nice. Like you can actually go stun run for double DPS if you're having trouble keeping up with them. Having Phantom Twin, which does a lot of damage. I am using the first and second ability, and then the third to enable the full combo. I'm using Stunning Strike because I want to interrupt some holy E's or Q's. This is not as important. You could technically go Energizing or Life Leech as well, but I just like Stunning Strike because it gives me a bit of extra utility. We're going Tenacity Shoes for the extra damage and invis. This is really nice for like both one-shots and double DPS because of the invis. So like if you're the target of double DPS, you pop this invis and most double DPS won't know what to do. Going Balanced Mind on the passive because I want the extra damage and defense. I have a Mage Robe here. This is a little interesting. Technically, it could be like a druid robe or something, but since most people are running either fiend robes or mage robes, I don't like druid robe because it has a long cooldown. Technically, I could also go fiend robe in this slot if I wanted to be a bit more aggressive. I just like Purging Shield's ability if the enemy is like an axe or a sword to reset their stacks and reset their ability to do damage if they hit me. I'm running aggression because I want the damage. I have a Stalker Hood here instead of a Fiend Cowl. And this is extra damage and DR when... Fuck that. And DR when I'm in the middle of, like, doing the combo, you'll see. This just kills right here. I also have Balanced Mind here for extra damage and defense. Now this one is a little bit debatable. I'm actually running a Thet Cape. You could actually also run a Ava Cape here. Let me check to make sure. A 4.2 excellent Ava Cape. The Ava Cape has a bit of DR with it, but also comes with an increased cost. This is 300 damage plus 15% DR, and this is 200 damage. So that cape does more damage, but the DR is really nice if you really want extra DR on this build. It's also a slight AoE. This is easier to aim on because it's on an auto attack and it's a chain lightning. I just like this better. You can technically go Ava if you wanted to. For food, we have beef stew for the increased damage. My ally is running a Ava omelet, so I'm trying to match his price here. I'm going 8-1. It's 15%. We have Siphoned Energy for OCing when we get into a fight. Running Resi Pots for this double DPS nonsense, and I'm running Poisons for healer DPS. Assuming I actually remember to press these. And I can swap between the two as needed, depending on the healer DPS or double DPS comp. My healer is running a variation of this. Throughout the thing, you'll see them run multiple variations of this. So they will have Night Shoes. I like the extra shield for them. The shield is really nice. Even with the healing nerf in double in the Hellgates, it's a really nice shield, plus the defensives makes them tank a bit longer. They're also running Mage Robe. I like the Purge on the Mage Robe. Technically, you could also run Fiend Rope here if you want to be a bit more aggressive. They were running Graveguard for a bit, but then we switched them to Scholar, and we also switched them to Merc to see what they liked better. It looks like they like Scholar better, so that's what they'll be running. They're running regular shield. This is going to be changed later to a Sarcophagus. The Reg Shield's just cheap. The Sarcophagus actually gives you a bit more defense versus all, versus players, versus CC duration. So it's a bit of a preference here. Either one works. You're running One Hand Holy with Adrenaline Given Charity, Desperate Prayer, Holy Blessing, and Generous Heal. We also have a Limb Cape. For their potions, they're only running 2 potions instead of the standard 4. They're running Resi Pots and Mana Pots. They'll be using Resis throughout the main portion of this. They're also running Avapor Gauntlets for the extra defense, so they're really hard to kill. And that's the 2 kits we're running. That's the 2 kits we're running right now. Throughout this, I will tell you what my process and thinking is here, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll keep in mind that my partner is actually pretty low on the fame chart. They're only 50 mil fame, and they did really, really well here. So I will tell you my thought process and what goes on between these fights and how this works. Anyway, let's get into the fights. Alright, here's the first one. As you can see, I am just clearing the mobs here real quick. I noticed that the things are following and that there's people now. I'm actually running Deadwater Eel Stew here instead of the beef stew. I make beef stew later in the choice. Alright. First things first. I inspect for DPS first by chance, and they're running Cultist, Fiends, Stalker, Ava, Carving. So there's a healer here. Just by this kit alone, I know there's a healer. And then there's a light. And I don't know if you caught that. I don't know if you caught that real quick, but that was an Iron Root healer. Now that Iron Root healer is running Stalker Shoes, Fiend Robe, Graveguard Helm, Limb Cape, the Iron Root, and the Mistcaller offhand. Very mana hungry here. This takes 10%. The E takes 10% of your mana every time you E. But his little play here is to connect them, Graveguard his friends, and then E. And then heal with the passive. Little thing about nature healers is they're good at keeping themselves up, but not really their own people up. I switched to poisons here. My friend stays on resis. I'm kind of scared of the carving. The carving getting the pierce off on our healer is going to be rough. They're running Merc Hood this time. So you're going to see we're waiting for our cooldowns, and now we're going to go in. I go on the carving here, and the carving goes on me. I'd immediately prop Purging Shield to purge everything. And the Pierce lands, and they're both going to proc their Fiend Ropes here, and this is a big mistake. And I just instantly blow them up. So you can see how effective this is. We'll go back again. So you're going to see this again. I'm going to go invis here, and in this moment, I realize I'm not going to be able to close this gap in between me and the healer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the DPS to force the healer to come back, and they have no stacks yet. Important thing about the nature flower is that it takes time to set up an area, and when the area is set up, you don't want to fight them in it. They did not set up an area, which means they don't have stacks yet, which makes this kill a lot easier than it should be. He does, however, get the Graveguard off, but it's not enough. The healing over time is just not enough for me to notice it and worry about it. Very scary stuff when put effectively. And this is the damage with that robe there, and it does way too much. This is the first fight, though. It really was very simple. I don't know if I used a potion there. Okay, so the second fight is very interesting. We get put up against two 100,000 infamy players with a Bill PvP fame and about 3 Bill total fame. We lose this, but this is a very interesting fight here. So this guy is a rock caller with a lot of anti-heal and a healer with a very basic ass meta set. We swap to our potions here. I think they stay on resis, and then they swap their potions. No, I actually tell them to swap to manas. That was a mistake on my part. But I go on the healer or the DPS here, kind of poking it to see if I can actually break it. It looks like I can, sort of. But it's really rough here. At the start, looks interesting, but if you look, we're slowly making strides here, and I E, W, and this almost kills them right there. So if I had actually done this properly, it would have we would have killed. Sadly, it does not look like we're gonna kill, and the rock caller just wins here. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alright, so this third fight, we go right back in after the second. We're in the same shit. Same stuff here. I swapped her to Guardian. I swapped them to Guardian Home to see what goes on here. They forget to swap their potions to resis, but as you can see, it's not going to make too big a difference. I am still on eel stew. So they actually forget to buy food this time. So it's going to be a healer DPS comp. This is a standard healer build with Merc Shoes, Mage Robe, and Royal Cal, so they have infinite mana. And then I have a Martlock Cape and Resi Pot, so they're scared of getting killed very quickly, which is very interesting to me. So we swap our potions, we're on cooldown. They swap their potions to DPS potions, and I see immediately the big problem here. The big problem here is that their DPS is a carrion caller. That is a very deadly DPS if we stack, so we gotta be very careful here how we approach this. The axe is very mana hungry, but it seems the axe wants me first and pierces me. I'm gonna immediately try to burst him down a bit, see if I can bait out any defensives I can, and it turns out I can very, very quickly execute him. I missed my first E, but I was taking a look and seeing the damage I was doing. I was like, alright, I brought my mage rope to purchase defensive because he hits me, and then I go all in here, and that combination is enough to execute him, and his healer cannot help him. And then we just chase this healer around. I'm waiting on cooldowns here, and now I'm starting to do the execution. I'm gonna pierce. I'm not even gonna bother piercing apparently, and we're just gonna end it right there. That's fight number 3. Very quick fight, but what I'm doing is I'm poking at their defensives. I'm not fully committing here. I toss my E out. I toss a second E out. And they're getting low enough where I'm comfortable enough to try and execute here. And it is a very nice maneuver. These fights are all within like 20,000 to 30,000 infamy as well. And that's fight number 3. Alright, let's try this again. I fucked up. Alright, fight number 4 is the heavy crossbow with tenacity shoes, mage robe. Mage robe for defensive, tenacity shoes for damage, Martlock Cape, Gig Pot. This is a mistake here. You need Resi Pots because you have a healer. Gig Pot cuts your effective healing received in half when you proc it. And then they also have a heavy crossbow with the one shot. So they're just trying to one shot one of us and end it right there. So I tell my new healer, like, hey, if they pierce you, just proc your resi or proc some sort of defensive. We both stay on resis because this is a pretty one-shotty build. We're holding, and I kind of want to fight here, so I'm waiting. And I kind of want to fight, so I'm about to turn here and see what I can do with this situation. And this is immediate. So he just went invis. I think he's going to try and one-shot my healer, so I'm going to try to counter that. And pop my Q, and I do end up hitting him. And then I immediately see the healer's on beam. So my focus now goes on to the healer. Healer blows his shoes. And my healer says they can't reach me. And I say, okay, I'm coming back. We're going to kite a bit here. We have better kite potential here because of the tenacity shoes. I also have a slow if I need it with my E. It only puts my E on a 10-second cooldown. So we're going to kind of stabilize here. I see the E gets fired off for free. I'm waiting for 10 seconds, and we're going to re-engage here on the healer. Healer procs Mage Robe. I'm gonna try and get as much damage on him as I can to stress him out. He procs Gigpot, and I stop the full send, and the Gigpot runs out, and I full send again, and it almost kills him, but my Pierce will end up doing the job here, and that shield landing just in time to save me. And then I just full send on this guy here, and that is GG. The defensive timings were nice here and pretty well done. Seeing again how that Stalker hood just comes into play to save us so well there. And look at that, some nice loot to end that, and that is fight number 4. Here's fight number 5. This is a weird fight. One of the off-meta builds I see sometimes, but doesn't really help them too much. This is going to be a Battle Axe healer with the Cultist Sandals, Merc Hood, Moizak, Thetford Cape, Mage Robe, and Battle Axe. They're on the Pierce W and the highest DPS you can possibly get. Debating on what to do here. I kind of want to stay on resis, but I end up choosing my poisons over this to make the fight a bit quicker. I tell my healer to stay on resis because that Pierce is deadly if it gets off. And the healer is on a very standard build here. It's on a Fiend Robe Royal Cowl with, I think, mercenary boots. Yes, with Gigpot. Gigpot again, cutting their healing in half. It's going to be a big problem for them later. But my healer says, alright, I'm ready. So I start moving forward to see if they try to engage first. I wanted them to engage into me, keeping my healer behind me. And I'm going to go straight for the healer here. And they immediately proc Fiend Robe. The Night Shoes come in nice to mitigate some of that damage. They also stack pretty well here, so I'm able to get some value off with my E. I missed my last E, but I'm also going to proc Mage Robe here. And I already proc Mage Robe to get rid of those Cultist Sandals for my healer. And I'm watching the healer's health drain, but I'm also trying to keep in mind the other DPS's health at the same time as it gets lower and lower from my AoEs. And the healer just procs boots here, so I full send the DPS to make the healer come back, and then proc my Stalker to pierce and ensure this kill here. Waiting for a bit, and the healer just has run out of mana. Which means I now have complete immunity to this. And then it goes the healer. I scream at my DPS or my healer to come to me so they can proc all their abilities. And with the Pierce and the Tenacity Shoes, it ends that Battle Axe through the Frost Shield. And that is fight number 5. If you notice, though, the healer is running out of mana. I don't know what's going on here because they have a Royal Cowl. I should be using it. Looks like the healer ended up panicking. Oh no, the healer's on the back, so they don't have the infinite mana. You can see my healers slowly sustaining themselves and sort of outplaying the enemy DPS. That shield is an apple omelet coming in really helpful to mitigate the damage as much as humanly possible. I probably could full send the healer or full send the DPS, but the healer is a much more valuable target. The shield helping so much here just to keep them alive that much better. And these tenacity shoes coming in even better to help out. And I'm running out of mana toward the end, but it does not matter at this point because I have Stalker plus tenacity and it just ends right here. Super, super helpful, super, super good kit. And that is fight number 5. Alright, here's fight number 6. It's a repeat of the earlier fight, but different people. We have a Rock Caller on the enemy team and a standard healer build with my healer now running Scholar Cal instead of the Guardian or Merc to see how they like it. I'm switching to poisons here because I want to execute that Rock Caller real quick. My healer is also running Fiend Cal or Fiend Rope instead. Now they go straight for me, and I proc from Purging to get rid of that grudge. And I go on the DPS here, and yes, I'm standing on the tenacity hood, but I trust my heals to keep me alive long enough. That Fiend Robe keeping the DPS kind of light here, and then the execution here with the tenacity shoes and that cape. Really, really quick. Really good execution here. Healer just keeping me alive through that tenacity hood really well. You can watch this again. See my healer standing in the back to be pretty far away. The grudge damage does a lot, but the purging the grudge was really important. The Fiend Robe mitigating that damage just enough to keep me alive, and him having to run back instead of deal damage to keep himself alive really helps. And then this healer is just being a pain in the neck and not respecting us and just running around healing for ages. Don't do this. And that is fight number 6. Alright, this is fight number 7 and a little bit of a funny one. But here we are just clearing mobs. At this point I have switched to Beef Stew. We had 2 fights with the same group over and over again, and now we're back in it for a 3rd time to see what's going on. Claymore, and this is another healer build. We have Fiend Rope on them, and this time they're on Scholar Cal again. They're gonna stay on Resis because the healer scares me. If you catch this, healer's running the exact same build we are, or sorry, near the exact same build. If I inspect this healer right here, look at that. Except that instead of a shield, they're using a Mist Color and Martlock Cape. So really debating on how much mana they're about to have. So they go on me here, and I'm really keeping my Purging Shield up to mitigate the damage and those stacks, as important as they are. And I get the, look at that Fiend Rope though. Look at that Fiend Rope, it's beautiful. I'm taking a lot of damage here. They're about to E me. They go in for the E, and the shield just saves me in that Fiend Rope, buying me time to sit on this healer. I'm on cooldowns, but I'm slowly just trying to keep up this pressure here. That Resi pot about to come down, and this time my E going in very hard. They're on beam though, so I finish off that healer with the E and finish off that DPS, making it a really nice execution here. I'm purposely playing into their defensives a bit, and I'm just trying to bait out some sort of defensive, which I got the Cleric Robe. The damage enough from my Qs and Ws should kill, but the excellent, I throw my poison, The TD is nice. He drinks his Resi, and I'm just slowly pressuring this healer and the DPS at the same time. So even if this healer doesn't die, I got the DPS next rotation. And that is fight number 8. Alright, so I kind of lied. There was only 7 fights that I needed to show. Really, really nice stuff there. The last fight was fight number 7, not fight number 8. That was my bad. But I kind of hoped I demonstrated what this little setup can do for y'all. Right now, I believe the top hellgators are using prowling and stuff like that to do their executions. But I wanted to give this little weapon a try. I really liked it, and I'm kind of glad what it did for me. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you later.